The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It is Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our regular host, Gina Towns, is present but will not be with us today. I've asked Wilmer J. Leon III. Dr. Leon is a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, policy, public, and American government. For 11 years, Dr. Leon was lecturer in the political science department at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Dr. Leon is the host, producer of the nationally broadcast radio show Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM satellite radio channel 126. He's the author of Politics, Another Perspective, commentary and analysis on race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Obama. He's also a contributing author of Democratic Destiny and the District of Columbia. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
My brother, as always, thank you so much for the invitation. Good to be here, and hello to your audience.
I appreciate you so much. Hey, I should share with you, when I was reflecting upon the title of your book, I spoke with the president, former President Barack Obama today, who offered his sincerest condolences to the Jackson family. And of course, our family extended an invitation to President Obama to participate at whatever level he'd like to participate in our father's homegoing celebration and services. And the president, who presently is outside of the country, said he's going to do everything that he can within his power to be there. And I'm excited about the prospects of that. I know that means he will be there. I'm confident that he's going to do more than everything he can to be there. And I'm excited about that. Dr. Leon, some reflections and some thoughts on your friend, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Wow. Now, first of all, let me say I'm glad that you made mention of your talking to the former president, because I saw some articles, I think as recently as this morning, that there was some debate between your family and the Obamas, and you all didn't want them there and all this other kind of foolishness. So I'm very glad that you opened with that clarity. Let me also, I've expressed this to you publicly, but let me express to you, privately, let me express this to you publicly, my condolences on behalf of myself and my family on the passing of your father. It is a great personal loss to you. I know it is a great personal loss to me and to our country. And so I want to be sure I made that point. Wow. You know, I want to be sure that what the country has tried to do to Dr. King isn't done to the legacy of your father. I've written a number of pieces regarding Dr. King and his legacy, and how he was turned, or the country has tried, the narrative has tried to turn him into a dreamer. And I wrote a piece regarding that fact. And because dreamers are docile, dreamers are asleep, they aren't active, they aren't aggressive, they aren't engaged in the struggle. Dr. King was, as we know, as was your father. I've heard references to him about how he made us feel better. I think it was Jonathan Capehart that made that comment. One of the most significant things about Reverend Jackson was how he made us feel, which is not to be dismissed, but there was so much more substance to him than feeling. And the way, for example, that he continually focused on making the point that if the African American community progresses, the country prospers. That we all are quite familiar with a number of his phrases, but those phrases weren't just trite quips. Again, a rising tide lifts all boats. Again, if the African American community makes progress, the country prospers. So in the discussion about our feeling better, there was incredible not only national relevance and resonance, there was international relevance and resonance. A lot of people may not realize how engaged your father was with voting for blacks in Britain, that he was there bringing the American civil rights struggle to Britain and voting rights for blacks in Britain. He was huge, man, and a beautiful human being. I remember sitting with him at the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. I know we're going to break. I can pick that up at another point.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Dr. Wilmer J. Leon, political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government. Dr. Leon is a very close and dear friend of mine, a very close and dear friend of the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, and has some insights on the significance of his life and his import at this moment in American history. More when we come back on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon, honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And even during the break, the Honorable Gilbert Anthony Cedillo, former member of the City Council, the 1st District in Los Angeles, California, former member of the California State Assembly and the California State Senate, called me in between the break just to express his condolences and to share how proud he is of my father and the work that he's done and for his children, standing up for his family at this hour. I want to thank Senator, Representative, as well as the Honorable Gilbert Cedillo for that very kind call. In this hour, our very special guest is none other than Wilmer J. Leon, political scientist. Dr. Leon is the host and producer of a nationally broadcast radio show, Inside Issues with Wilmer Leon, on Sirius XM satellite radio, channel 126. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
A pleasure, my brother, a pleasure.
Hey, can I set the record straight just before I bring on our other guest with respect to Barack Obama?
Yes.
Let me share with you, everyone, how Barack Obama entered the space of the Jackson family. My sister, Santita Jackson, attended Whitney Young High School in the city of Chicago, where she attended high school with Michelle Robinson, classmates. When Michelle went to college, Harvard University, she came home. One of her best friends, and I believe her absolute best friend in the world, was Santita Jackson. She brought a young Barack Obama home to meet not only her parents, but to meet Reverend and Mrs. Jesse Jackson, the parents of her best friend. Santita introduced Barack Obama to the Jackson family. Santita was maid of honor to Barack Obama in his wedding. My ex-wife and I, already married, were one of about, I'd say, 30 people who attended the services of Barack Obama to Michelle Robinson at Trinity United Church of Christ, where the officiant of their wedding was Reverend Jeremiah Wright. That's my first recollection of Barack Obama, including a number of trips that he and Michelle and my ex-wife and I took, along with Santita, to Michigan, hanging out in little resorts in Michigan, hanging out with young African-American college students and having a great time. When I ran for Congress in 1995, my father called me into his home to share with me that he didn't think I should run for Congress. He thought I should run for state senate. So he asked one of his close and dear friends, a lady by the name of Alice Palmer, and her husband, Buzz Palmer, to meet in his living room. I came home one day and Dad said, "Hey, come on over, man. I want to talk with you for a minute." I walked into his house. There was wild speculation that I was going to run for Congress. And sitting in the living room was Alice Palmer. My dad said, I want to support you for Congress and I want to support my son for the state Senate. Alice Palmer said, no, Reverend Jackson, I'm running for Congress and I've already committed my Senate seat and support to Barack Obama. I said, Dad, I told you, she's not going to support me for Congress and she's not even going to support me for Senate. She's already supporting someone else, Barack Obama. I ran for Congress in 1995. I defeated Alice Palmer in that race. And Alice Palmer, who had committed to supporting Barack Obama, then tried to run for her Senate seat again. Barack Obama challenged her petitions and kicked her off the ballot. I was elected to Congress in 1995, and I think Barack was elected in 1996 in that Democratic primary election. I introduced Barack Obama on billboards across the 2nd Congressional District to the people of the 2nd Congressional District when he wanted to run for the United States Senate in 2006. And that's after he was defeated in a race for Congress against Bobby Rush some years earlier. I introduced Barack Obama to Tavis Smiley, and Tavis Smiley and others said, and we all agreed because we were young elected officials, that we needed someone like Tavis Smiley to hold us accountable. We agreed. I've got pictures of when we had that meeting. Barack Obama went on to become a United States Senator, and I was co-chairman of that campaign with the late Senator Paul Simon. Barack asked me to be co-chairman of this campaign for president in 2008. Barack Obama was elected president of the United States. At that hour, I had been serving in the Congress of the United States for more than 10 years. I was a senior member of the Congressional Black Caucus. The Black Caucus was evenly divided between some members from the old school, led by Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who wanted to support Hillary Clinton, and I was leading the new school, those of us who believed in Barack Obama. I introduced Barack Obama to most members of the Congressional Black Caucus who did not know him. And that's the proximity that we had and that we shared. And so in large measure, yes, the ascent of Barack Obama is directly tied to what Jesse did in 1984 and 1988. And I say Jesse, my father, respectfully. But those of us on the ground who are doing the work in the streets, yeah, the ties that bind come from Santita Jackson and the campaigns that we ran locally that made Barack Obama's campaign possible. That's a fact. Those are the facts written about in David Garrow's book, Rising Sun. So I want to share that the proximity between the Jacksons and the Obamas is deep. And I laugh at social media that suggests that there's some difference unless someone can change or report to me a different history. It's just not true. And so we're all the beneficiary of Jesse Jackson's work. Our very special guest joining us in this hour is Thomas Porter. Thomas Porter is the former Dean of Afrikaner Studies at Ohio University and the former member of CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, as well as SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was a longtime friend of Coretta Scott King and at one point was the head of the King Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. Porter, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Dr. Wilmer Leon. So glad that you're here, Dr. Porter. It's been a long time, sir.
It has been, Congressman. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Leon, I'm sure your great friend, Dr. Porter, has a lot to share with you about your friend and our friend and Dr. Porter's friend, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Well, when Tom comes on the scene, I sit back and listen. So
where do you want to start?
We can start at the very beginning, sir. We've got a good 40 minutes.
Well, I entered the campaign. It was your mother, Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson, who brought me into the campaign. She called me up. I was in Cincinnati actually running for Congress, and she said, I know Jesse wants to talk to you. And this was about 2 days before Thanksgiving, 1983. She said, Jesse will be home for Thanksgiving, so why don't you come? So I spent Thanksgiving Day at the Jackson House in Chicago. And at some point during that day, Jesse said he wanted me to work with him. I said, what do you want me to do? He says, well, just travel with me. And so it began there. And I want to say something about, at this point, about the Jaime situation, which I think is very, very important. There are two things in the campaign that I think are very, very important in the attempts to derail the campaign. First was when Reverend Jackson announced that he was running in Washington, D.C. in the convention center. The JDL interrupted his speech. And they interrupted his speech because they didn't like his position on the Middle East. And from that day on, the three of us, Jesse, Reverend Jackson, Florence Tate, and myself, we were the road team. We were traveling all over the country. And the JDL was hounding us. And this was before Reverend Jackson got Secret Service protection. And so Farrakhan put the FOI to give us security for a while. And so the Jaime thing was, Jesse never said Jaime in a derogatory way, in a way that would demean anybody. He would just say, we're going into New York, and New York is Jaime's town. But at our first visit in New York, Percy Sutton met us backstage. We were meeting with Jewish community in New York, telling us how we had to behave when we met the Jewish community. So, my point of it is they were looking for a way to derail the campaign.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Porter, that reminds me, because I reflect upon that period too. And I remember, because I was a child at the time, almost a college student, Rabbi Meir Kahana threatening to come to our home and picket.
That's right.
And be in front of our home after those disruptions. And I remember the Nation of Islam and Minister Louis Farrakhan actually saying, no, we're going, because they're just 6 blocks away, we're going to provide security for the Jacksons. There ain't nobody going into our community and into our home to disrupt the Jackson family and their lives. That's how Minister Farrakhan really came, Brother Porter, to national prominence.
Yes, no question. And so the interesting about that, and I want to fast forward, you all were talking about Barack Obama.
Hang on, Tom, if it could, because one final point on the, because it was a Washington Post reporter that reported that story, and as I understand it, nobody else, as many other people as have repeated the story, nobody else was able to say that they ever heard the comment. And even to this day, there are people that will still bring that up as though they heard it themselves, when for all intents and purposes, it was fiction.
It was not only fiction. Milton Coleman, who was the Washington, D.C. reporter, there were white reporters who said they had heard that Jesse said this, but because they didn't think a white reporter could report it, Milton Coleman, who was in disfavor at the Washington Post because he'd done a story on a fictionalized story, which he projected as the truth, on Janet Cook. And so he got busted down. This was his way of getting back in favor. The fact of it is, very few people, if any, ever heard Jesse say that, because he did not say that in the way in which it was reported. But the fact of it is, there was an element of the Jewish community from the very, very beginning was opposed to his candidacy. And they used Milton Coleman.
Dr. Leon?
But to Jesse's credit, just to finish the story, we were in New Orleans, and there was a congressman who had set up a meeting with the Jewish community in New Orleans. And they started harassing Jesse, you got to do this, you got to do this. And Jesse said, we're a different generation. We're not like our fathers. I have no intention of bowing down. And I never say anything that somebody told me. I was in the room.
I find that somewhat fascinating, because even though I know that my father, from that moment forward, worked very hard on Black-Jewish relations and trying to build bridges, and I've always participated in African-American and Jewish dialogues, my father, until his dying day, would still meet people who would insist that he still apologize. Like there was never an end to the apology. It's like there was no redemption. There was no redemption from it whatsoever.
No, because it was leverage.
Yeah, I mean, it was
leverage, and people are not going to relinquish leverage.
Yeah, and but I come from the Christian school of thinking that no one is beyond redemption, and I think that when he spoke at the Democratic Convention and offered up the most heartfelt apology ever, because of the remarks that he referred to as insensitive, when he referred to the fact that his grape may have turned into a raisin, but that God was not finished with him yet. I think that was well received by the Jewish community and by many people all around the world at that hour. But I'm telling you, all of his life, it plagued him. And I don't mean it plagued him psychologically. It would just be brought back up one more time, and he had to explain it one more time. And it's like, wow. I'll tell you what's really interesting. I've never used the term in my life. And as a member of Congress, I've had meetings with some constituencies that insist that I apologize for it. I'm like, you want me to apologize for what? For what? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. My very special guest is Mr. Tom Porter, as well as Dr. Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. We're talking about Jesse Jackson.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says opponents of his global tariffs are, quote, dancing in the streets, end quote, after the Supreme Court struck down most of them.
Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy.
Speaking at the White House, Trump said they won't be dancing for long and criticized the conservative justices who sided with liberals. President Trump is hosting a bipartisan group of governors at the White House this weekend. 2 Democratic governors, Black Governor Wes Moore of Maryland and Jared Polis of Colorado, were initially disinvited from a working breakfast but later welcomed back. The National Governors Association briefly pulled out, saying it could not attend a meeting that excluded governors. And the city of Beverly Hills is apologizing to Black Celtics star Jaylen Brown after police shut down a private event for his sportswear brand, 741. City officials now say they received inaccurate information about the permit. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeacrossamerica.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Intense game last night at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. The Clippers held on for a 115-114 win over Denver and may have found a rising star in the process. Benedict Mathurin, making his home debut with the Clippers, dropped 38 points off the bench. When the Clippers got Mathurin 2 weeks ago in the trade with Indiana, I told folks this guy has some pop to his game. Clippers Nation is going to like him. Kawhi Leonard had 23 points. 34 straight games, Kawhi has scored at least 20. The Clippers and Lakers meet up tonight in downtown LA at Crypto.com. First game for the Lakers after the All-Star break. 20 straight wins for the UCLA women's basketball team. UCLA, the number 2 team in the country behind UConn, beat Washington last night 82-67. 23 points and 8 rebounds for Bruins center Lauren Betts. The Bruins' last loss was to Texas on November 26th. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm Tavish Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the art of conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it?
Yeah, man.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo. KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this special episode of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, we're remembering the Reverend Jesse Jackson with his friend, Dr. Wilmer J. Leon, political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government, as well as one of his closest advisors, Tom Porter. Porter has been an advisor to Jesse Jackson and was an integral part of Jackson's presidential campaign in 1984 and the hostage negotiation with Syrian President Hafez al-Assad in the release of Robert O. Goodman, a captured U.S. Navy lieutenant. Before I welcome both of these men back, I should just share with everyone a little bit of news. My mother in this hour and at this hour needs to be in everyone's prayers. She is at the funeral home with the mayor of the city of Chicago visiting my father. And I'm so grateful for the mayor's time that he is spending carefully with my mother to help her through this difficult hour. Bringing forward our two guests, Dr. Leon and Dr. Porter. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. As always, Jesse, really appreciate it.
Dr. Porter, 1984 was a pivotal year in African-American politics and in Democratic politics as well. Your remembrances about the significance of the Jesse Jackson campaign.
You know, Reverend Jackson was brilliant. We were on a plane going to New Mexico with all of the other presidential candidates, and I had handed Jesse the New York Times for that day, and there was the story on the New York Times about this pilot who was shot down, and Jesse said, "We ought to go in there and get that boy." And so he said it just like that. So he told me to call Frank. I can't think of Frank Watkins.
Frank Watkins.
So call Frank and tell him that we ought to go in there and get that boy.
It was called the Rumsfeld Revelation, if I remember. President Reagan had sent Rumsfeld to Syria to meet with Assad on a number of matters that might bring peace to that part of the world. But an African-American Navy pilot had been shot down by Syrian forces. And Rumsfeld, when he went to meet with Hafez al-Assad, never even inquired about the Black airline pilot who was on a bombing mission. He acted like he wasn't even there, that whatever the issues of state were more important than the existence of the African-American airline pilot. So the very story that Tom Porter hands to Jesse Jackson, it brings to the nation's attention that the administration didn't care about the Black pilot. So Jesse Jackson, who had relationships in the Middle East, said to Tom Porter, you know what? Since the administration is not thinking about rescuing the Black pilot, what do you think, Tom, if we go to Syria and try and get him ourselves? Happened something like that, right, Dr. Porter?
No question. And it was something that only Jesse, or somebody like Jesse, could do. The Reagan administration was busy saying that if we go, we would be interfering with foreign policy. At the same time, in the back room, before we left for Syria, we met in the office of Lawrence Eagleburger, the Undersecretary of State, because they knew that only Jesse could do what he did. Because in the Middle East, most of the Arab governments wanted to curry favor with the Black community in America. And Jesse at that time was the titular leader of the Black community and Black politics and what have you. And it was a marvelous occasion. I had the privilege to be in the key meetings, including with Assad. And I remember we were in a room with Assad, and Reverend Jackson said, President Assad, if I had to have any lawyer in Syria, I wanted would be you. I wanted to be you, because Assad said he would have to call the leadership all over again. The leadership had voted not to release him. And Jesse said, President Assad, there are a lot of people in America would like to see me come back empty-handed, but there are a lot of people who would like to come in here with guns blazing in America. So I don't know how you say this in Arabic, but he said, if I go back without him, it's going to be my ass. And if you keep him, it's going to be your ass.
Dr. Leon?
That is the perfect example, and I would like for Tom to elaborate on this point. Realpolitik. Your dad was about the real, and the tangible. He wasn't philosophical, even though he could be. He wasn't about the warm and fuzzy, even though he could be. He was about real politique, the tangible. It takes an awful lot of hubris to when Rumsfeld says no, you say go.
Mm.
And when you're standing or sitting with President Assad and you say, hey man, it's gonna be my ass or yours.
That's a direct quote. But I also want to say something. I remember you, Jesse, on that trip.
Yes, it was amazing.
Yeah, I remember you. But you all were talking about Barack Obama early. And there's a narrative that says that Jesse, without Jesse, Barack Obama would not be president. Now, that's true, but the real fact is the Democratic Party, Reverend Jackson, made Barack Obama necessary. Because the Democratic Party at that point, first of all, Reverend Jackson had demonstrated on the ground that he could build a coalition. I remember being in Great Bend, Kansas, the Posse Comitatus. I remember them saying there were no poor people in New Hampshire, and Reverend Jackson announced that we're going to be giving out free food at the campaign headquarters in New Hampshire, and white people will line up around the street. He made Barack Obama necessary because at that time, the largest constituency of the Democratic Party was the Black community. And Jesse had expanded that with the Rainbow Coalition. And Labor was funding that. And so it wasn't that Jesse made him necessary because the Democratic Party needed the Black community. They needed the Black community. They couldn't win without the Black community.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Give me 1 second, Dr. Porter. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. Dr. Porter and Dr. Leon.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/.